Hey, true blood.
G'day, Anthony. How you going, mate?
Hey, true blood.
I'm good, thanks, Dave. How are you? Welcome to the camp.
Excellent. Great to be back at the camp. Looking forward to tonight. I have been pretty excited to have our guest on tonight.
Absolutely. He
Wazza.
seems like an absolute champion. So it'll be good to have a chat to him about his CrossFit experiences and his other experiences, which we will not say too much about just yet.
Yeah, we'll let him deep dive us into that amazing story. He should be here. Hopefully, he'll be here. He's in Tasmania, isn't he?
He is in Tasmania.
Time zone.
I will message him just to make sure he's not forgotten. I don't think he has, but I'll just give him a
time zone 1 hour difference, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. This is when it happens. We're going back to back this time. Last Wednesday we were here as well. Thanks to everyone who watched. all 60 views or something like that.
Yes, that was excellent for our first go at it. I'm pretty impressed with that. So, a friend told me, he said, if you want some inspiration, have a look at Joe Rogan's very, very first podcast.
Okay.
And you will be amazed at how far he's come. So
incredible.
So the future is bright.
Hey,
Wazza's here.
You want to bring him on stage? Let's bring Wazza on stage. Wazza, you may be able to hear us. We'll bring you on stage. Oh, sorry. Let's add him to the stage.
Hello,
Wazza. The internet's a bit slow down there.
It must be. So I'm running Starlink, so hopefully this doesn't trip us up. I probably should have plugged it into the cable instead of the Wi-Fi.
We can hear you loud and clear. There's one of our supporters, Miss Laura Ty. Hello, Laura.
Hello, Laura.
How are you going? Thanks for the message.
She's the one that's responsible for the logo behind Dave. That's the beautiful logo that Laura created for us.
Yep. Laura, thank you for that. Makes me look a little bit more professional here. Well, as you're sorting out your internet there, let's see if we can. I'll just see if I can help you out here. Not too sure. You're traveling on. Are you traveling on just Wi-Fi, wireless, or Wi-Fi in your house?
Yeah, I'm on. And I normally use this for Zooming and stuff. So obviously, Starlink satellites might be busy at the moment down here in Tassie.
Okay, well, we'll just see.
That's okay.
Some trouble with video.
But you can see everything. You can see everything on. You can see Anthony and I, can't you?
Absolutely. Let me shut down a whole bunch of applications here and see if I can speed things up a bit, fellas.
Are you on your laptop or desktop?
No, I'm on the Big Mac, mate.
You're on the Big Mac?
Yeah.
All the technology.
There's the problem. We're using a Mac.
All the tech.
There you go.
Oh,
there we go.
Wow.
Awesome.
Awesome. Technology. The technology is fantastic. And Wazza, you're welcome to the show, mate. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Good to see you, Dave.
We're really excited about this, Big A and myself, and really looking forward to having some amazing conversations with people. We're curious. We're CrossFit bloody frothers. And
I went and dug out my old.
There you go.
Well, what year is that from? Was
2016, mate. It was the first year.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. Wow. That was your first. That was your first RX year, did you say?
First year.
That was your first.
Open, yeah.
Okay. Well, Anthony's got a story about that. What about you, mate?
Yeah, it's this year's my first RX. So starting in scaled
mate.
and foundations and moving through until, yes, every workout was done RX. So
It's all about the progressions, mate.
absolutely. Yeah.
I've just
So-
seen my background very unprofessional because I'm cleaning out my office, and so there's
looks like a-
crap all over the desk.
That looks like a beautiful wall there. This
It's
is
real
this is
timber.
your farmhouse. This is your farmhouse.
Yeah, this is the office
Yep.
in our home. So it's got a separate office, and yeah, we're going to paint the walls and do a bit of renovating. But you'll probably hear about that a bit when we have more of a chat. So
Yeah. Well, I might just bring on a little video here that someone very special forwarded to me, Wazza, and
it should be.
then we can, this will be something that we can then launch into the where's our video? Here we go. Just have a little listen to this and watch of this, guys, and Wazza. Oops, sorry about that. So there's your beautiful family, and Amy and Jack, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. My darling wife has been conspiring in the background here, Dave.
Yeah. So look, and also I know I showed a couple of photos of you looking a little bit
Worse
less
for wear.
worse for wear. Okay, and this is what we're going to talk about: your incredible journey recovering from this freak event that I think we can be frank and say it nearly took you away from us, not just once, twice, 3 times maybe.
Yeah, 3 times I came back, and I still didn't see any lights, just the back of my eyelids.
Terrible. But yeah, you're a CrossFitter at heart, and I think that plays a huge part in why you're still here with us. But tell us all about it. Yeah, let's 51, Warrick, or 52 now?
51, 52
Down in
this year, Dr. Dave.
Mm-hmm.
I've just spotted the title you've got up here. Life, Death and CrossFit. I think they all go together, don't they?
Say that again.
Life, Death and CrossFit in the title of this show.
Yes.
That's the title of the show. Yes.
Yeah. So 51, Dave, young and ready to punch out a bunch more decades.
We're the same age. We're the same
we
age.
Are indeed,
same age division, yeah. And we knew each other when you lived in Toowoomba, and I of course know Amy from way back. And every time you came to Brisbane, you'd drop into our box, and we'd throw down, and then we'd go out and have some bacon and eggs, and and coffee together, and just chill out. And then you moved to Tasmania. So, tell us a little bit about your journey from Toowoomba to Tasmania. That's a big tree change.
It is when I hear you say it, but at the time, for Amy and myself, my wife and I, we had both been in Southeast Queensland pretty much our entire lives. We met sort of later in our life journeys, a bit later for me than for my wife. But we probably, to be honest, we were just sick of the busyness of Toowoomba and Brisbane and Sunshine Coast, where we sort of hung out for most of our lives. And we're both very much outdoors people, love bushwalking, and we both sort of were kindling a shared passion for that not long after we met. And we actually drove down to Victoria or Melbourne, where my brother has lived for many, many years now. And we went and we camped in the Victorian High Country, in a little town called Walhalla, up in the gold rush area of the Vikai country. Beautiful, beautiful countryside. And it was just, it was such a wonderful change from what we'd been used to up in Queensland and northern New South Wales. And we got talking about just doing something different. You know, we both sort of felt a stirring. And so we said, you know what, bugger it, let's move. And we'd been trying to build a house on a block of land that we bought in Toowoomba, or just outside Toowoomba. And we were wrangling with councils and arguing with engineers and all sorts of problems with it. It's like, this is all feeling really hard. Maybe this is a sign. So we did some research. My wife's in healthcare, so we sort of looked at major hospitals where she could get a job at that stage. And we realised very quickly that we couldn't afford to live in the Vic High country or around Hillsville or the Yarra Valley because it was bloody expensive. And I'd actually travelled to Tassie in 2003 with my ex-wife and fell in love with Launceston and the whole of Tasmania. Just loved the place. And I thought, I really want to live here. And it didn't work out for various reasons. So Amy and I both sort of woke up middle of one night at my brother's house and crossed paths on the way to the loo and said, been thinking about where to move. It's like, yeah, so have I. Where are you thinking? Well, where are you thinking? It's like, what about Tasmania?
So you didn't know anyone there? It was
not
Tassie?
as far as work or
it
family.
was
Like
like,
no one else down here.
wow.
Interestingly, my ex-wife had moved to Tassie and brought my daughter down a few years prior, but had never intended to follow her around. So, yeah.
Had you been to Tassie before? Had you been?
I have, yeah.
So
Amy had never been down here.
Right. So you knew it's beautiful. It's beautiful country, isn't it, Tasmania? I mean, I've never been there, but everyone who goes there comes back raving about it. You know?
Amazing place.
So was that easy to do with your business and everything that you work?
So luckily, or maybe not luckily, but serendipitously, perhaps I'd already transitioned to an online business coaching practice. So I'm a business guy, a numbers guy, and when I moved to Toowoomba after my divorce, in the first place, instead of going backwards and forwards to the Sunshine Coast from Toowoomba, which was sort of going from a 2.5 to a 3-hour drive with all of the traffic and everything, I started to transition to Zoom before it was cool. So that was back in 2017, 18, pre-COVID. And so I already had an online business, essentially. I told my business partner, I don't know whether she was happy about me buggering off to Tasmania and us doing things completely online, but she supported that decision, and it all worked out pretty well. COVID hit just as we got to Tassie. So we went through all the lockdowns and all that stuff down here. Continued to run our business because we, didn't have face-to-face customers, didn't have the problems that some of you blokes had to put up with. And we managed to get through all that okay down here. And we're just loving life here in Tasmania. We managed to find a property, and we've got 10 acres.
You went to Warrick Bidwell. Warrick Bidwell, that's your property, isn't it?
Name of our property, yep.
Warrick Bidwell. Did you name that, or is that how you bought it? Warrick Bidwell. What does that mean? Is that a combination of Warrick and Bidwell? What is that?
Bidwell. So yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah. Fantastic.
So Amy actually came up with that one, I think.
Warrick,
So it's on the gate, we've got the sign on the gate.
I love
the hobby farm here.
Yeah, 10 acres.
Yeah,
beautiful.
And you look after the whole farm yourself?
Yeah, it's I guess it's not a lot of work, but now I think about how much work it is, and it's actually a lot of work. Dave can identify with this, I think, can't you, Dave?
Oh, yeah. I think Dave can very much identify with the amount of farm work that he does.
It's never ending work.
Fences and water and grass. And
you're just constantly fighting nature. Like you, it's us against the animals and the flora and fauna just trying to just grow and do its thing, and we're trying to sort of
Keep
we're
it
trying to
back.
craft it and hold it back so that we can ride motorbikes and do things like that on the property and grow cows and stuff.
Stuff.
I'm looking up Warren Biddy here. Would there be any pictures of it online? WARA.
I doubt it.
Warren Biddy.
Double R.
Double R.
There, though.
Okay. Sometimes you never know.
If I was super tech savvy, I'd flick you one somehow. But I've never sat on this program before, so I don't know how to drive it.
Right. Well, we've got the StreamYard. We've got the economic version of StreamYard at the moment. It cost us a big $0, but we've been pretty happy with it. But when we get to 100 subscribers, Phil's just sent a message through. When we get to 100 subscribers, we'll get the Phil my ass.
I wonder who that is. Hello, Jack. You cheeky.
You guys question your friends.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the comment there, Phil. But yeah, what are we sitting at? We've only got 14 subscribers at the moment, but when we get to 100, we will pay for our StreamYard subscription.
I reckon you'll double your subscribers after this episode for sure.
Yeah.
Yep, but that's not what it's about.
It seems like
it's about.
It seems like Tasmania was the perfect place to be. How did we end up in a situation? What you find yourself last month, November. It seems like a peacefully idyllic place to settle down.
Oh. It's horribly ironic, I guess, in some ways. We came here for the outdoors, for the hiking, the mountain biking, the clean air, the real estate prices, the low population density, and I guess a lot of us perhaps try and run away from our problems in life, and I've not usually been one to do that, and I certainly wasn't feeling like I was running away from problems, but we were certainly moving here for a change of pace and just that idyllic surroundings, which we got all of that in spades. We're a 30-minute drive from the beaches on Bass Strait, and we're a couple of hours from Cradle Mountain and all the amazing Central Plateau area. We're completely spoiled for choice down here for all that wonderful wilderness, and we've hiked a heck of a lot of it in the 5 years that we've been here. But that didn't change the fact that I had a business that's Australia-wide with clients and a need to spend lots of money with social media companies to market for new customers and manage staff and all that sort of stuff, and all of it's done online. So I actually think that presents a few other challenges that perhaps increase the stress levels these days, where a lot of us are running virtual businesses or whatever you want to call it, but basically we're doing business online, and I would spend 10 hours a day doing this, sitting in front of a computer screen, either in meetings with my business partner or with our team who are all around the world, or with clients who are right around Australia and New Zealand. So with all of that and, changing economic conditions comes a bit of stress. Finding customers. Dave doesn't have to work too hard to find customers. I think there's plenty of people queuing up with back pain still.
Oh, mate, my coronary calcium's higher than yours, I think. Right. I'm a bit worried about, I get a bit nervous every time I jump on my bike after knowing your story.
But
he throws himself around the gym and is on the floor at every workout.
Oh yeah,
so
Dave
I think his heart's pretty good.
Very kind talking about my visits to his box at that stage and throwing down with him a few times, and I always got in the car after those sessions and said to Amy, like, "Who is this guy? Like, he is a lunatic."
Every day's game day, Warrick. You know that.
Absolutely.
But so you had to have an outlet, of course, and not just CrossFit, but bringing your physical abilities out onto mountain biking.
Yeah, absolutely. I got into that.
So when did you get into mountain biking?
When we came to Tassie, actually. It's an absolute must down here. You either have a mountain bike or a pack. You It's very outdoorsy, interestingly, because wintertime scares most people away. But yeah, got into mountain biking and set up a full home gym here with all the COVID stuff from a few years back. It was getting hard to get into town and actually go somewhere. So instead of spending money on, probably shouldn't say this on your show, but instead of going to a CrossFit box, we actually set one up at home here. I was a level 1 trainer for 5 years, so I kind of knew my way around the gym. And there you go, Medina. Yeehaw. So
this is the event that you entered last year. What's it called? The Medina Enduro Jam. That's it. So tell us a little bit of that. So what is that? Is that like a national thing or international? People come from around the world to enter this.
Yeah, they have some pro riders there. Definitely national. It's open to anybody. So Gumbies like me can go and enter and pretend that they're racing themselves. It's all timed laps. So it's time trial.
It's not like someone's right on your tail or jostling for position. It's like they're all kind of time trials, are they? So to do this the downhill circuit.
All timed laps. They send you down, 2 or 3 minutes apart. So you do have people coming down the same trail. You're not sort of out there on your own for ages.
Wow! And look at this! Look at this countryside. This is the This is in near Hobart, is it? Launceston? Or?
Yeah, at the back of Hobart. So if you Google Mount Field, you actually see Mount Field summit from the top of the shuttle point at Medina Bike Park. I can't remember how many metres of elevation from the top to the bottom of the bike park. I think it's something like 700 or 800 metres of elevation that you can descend. It's an epic downhill park. It's an absolute icon here in Tassie.
So it's a big festival. It's a big festival for a weekend.
Big deal, yeah.
Yeah.
Big deal. Went down with a bunch of mates.
This is the first time you did it last year, or?
Yeah. So that was my Christmas present from my wife, was to go down on my own. Partly because we've got he's 18 months old next week, but we've got a young son, and camping with him and me mountain biking the whole time. Everything's not overly family friendly. So, Amy said, "Why don't you go? Go have a Waz trip. Your mates are going to be there. Go have some fun." And it was pre-Christmas, so that can be your Christmas present. I was like, "Oh, sweet, that sounds pretty cool."
Awesome. Looks like an absolute.
So the first time you get to relax, what happens?
Yeah.
What happens?
This is the thing. Don't ever stop, people. Just keep going. No, don't do that.
That's so good. That's so good.
Okay. Yeah, I broke my bike on my first run. And so I hired another bike, and I put down a second run on the first stage. It's kind of like, if you've ever watched Automotive Rally, you have special stages and all that sort of stuff. So first stage on the Saturday, and I managed to get back to the top on the shuttle bus to put down a third run. And I thought, this is going to be it. I'll do a good run here and post a pretty good time in the old boys category. And I got half a shot of being in the top 5. And so it was on that third run.
What sort of times? How long does it actually take you to do a run, like top to bottom for your degree, your division?
So I think that particular stage, it was about 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay, so it's pretty high intensity then. Your 3 or 4 minutes is a high intensity event. It's not like 100 k's where you're chugging away. This is full on.
It's a sprint, and it's downhill. And people go, "Oh, it's downhill. You don't have to pedal." But I got another good mate who races quite a bit up in Queensland, and he said his heart rate gets higher on the downhill sections than on the climbs. Because
I think that's fear.
Full adrenaline, yeah. Or you're belting down, like some of these trails, even for me as a complete amateur, I'm belting down some of these trails at 40 k's an hour.
Yeah.
And there's trees all around you, and you're jumping over rocks and all sorts of crazy stuff. So
yeah, that's cool.
Good fun.
I can see the appeal. I don't think I'll be taking it up, but I can see the appeal. All right.
Wow. So you went down on your third run, and what happened?
Yeah. Well, partly I don't know. Basically, I think it was about 2/3 of the way down, I've been told. And essentially it was just lights out. Just
Lights out.
cardiac arrest, plopped off the bike into the dirt. And it's a well organized, actually I would say very, very well organized, very well resourced event. And they have very high level medical staff stationed around the course. And I was fortunate enough to have my cardiac arrest and fall off my bike only 100 meters or so from a group of volunteer medics. And so someone saw me come off, yelled out for support, and basically they legged it up. And one of the volunteers started CPR.
So
on
they
me.
probably just thought you crashed at that stage, I imagine. They wouldn't
Yeah.
even known that you've had
absolutely,
an
and that's what they're
episode.
trained for. Yeah, is traumatic injury. You know, they're expecting someone like me to wrap myself around a tree at 40 k's an hour.
And you can't remember having any sort of chest pain or funny little palpitations on your way down and go, holy shit, this doesn't feel right. Yeah, from a cardiac perspective leading into it, it was just lights out.
Completely asymptomatic, Dave.
That's terrifying.
If I did experience anything prior to the arrest, I don't remember it. So maybe I blacked out. You know, maybe I've got some of that retrograde amnesia. But I don't think so, based on what I recall of the run and where they told me I fell off.
Yep. Okay, so they started from the account of everything. Your heart stopped, and they started CPR on the dirt track there.
Yep. They got my helmet off and did the early CPR. Fortunately, so
and do you know who that? Do you know who that was? Have you spoken to that person? You found out. You sort of you reached out to him, or he reached out to you.
I've managed to track down a few of my rescuers. So the person who was first on scene was a woman. She's a nurse from Hobart, and her husband's a mountain biker, and she volunteers at the park regularly. And so, I managed to get connected up with her just in the last sort of 4 weeks, so months and months after my event.
That must be quite chilling to just sort of. What did you phone her up, or did you meet up somewhere, or did you just have a bit of a chat online? Or
so far, it's all on Messenger. And even for her, they expect trauma. They're trained for it. They do this stuff regularly. She's an RN. This is not new stuff for her, but it's still very confronting for anyone, I think, who saves or tries to save the life of another person. It's still pretty confronting stuff.
Yeah.
It's very different to someone with a broken femur or a busted collarbone or, suspected spinal injuries or something. Oh, looks like we've lost Anthony. But yeah, it was quite wonderful to be able to chat to her and a couple of the other doctors that attended me on the scene.
Yep. And how long did she? Because there's no you're out in the bush. Normally if you have an in-hospital arrest, you put all the monitors on. People are taking your blood pressure. They've got SATS monitors on. They know whether their intervention is being effective. How long did this go on for before you kind of got a bit more advanced resuscitation?
So there was 15 minutes of CPR before they got a pulse, but I think there was, and I was defibbed 4 times to get.
So they had the defibrillator on the track. They gave that. They hit you with that pretty quick.
They humped all that up the hillside. Volunteers were rushing up with all the gear from the medic station. Brought the defib and shocked me 4 times. Got me a heartbeat again after 15 minutes, and then the race was on to with the doctors who were on the ground there by that stage to actually package me up and get me in the chopper.
Right. Okay. So the defibrillator had a little ECG trace or a rhythm detection
Yep.
capacity, and that's one of the things that we now do is the quicker that you can get the defibrillation, the greater the survival. And
They're
we've
amazing
got
bits of kit.
a defibrillator in our box as well, and every CrossFit box should have a defibrillator just because of the high intensity training and what that can do with catecholamines and people, just pushing their bodies. So then you get a pulse back, and then the medevac, the helicopter lands, does it? Is that?
So the chopper was either already there, sort of stationed for the event, or it had been tasked and had arrived. I think it was already there, and this is actually some of the stuff that's challenging for me, is because I don't know what the bloody hell happened, because I was out to it.
Yeah. And
so
Amy's, no one rings Amy, of course. She's at home looking after Jack.
Well, they didn't know who I was when I arrived at the hospital. I was admitted with a pseudonym because I didn't carry my license or anything on me.
Oh, pseudonym, crazy old guy riding bikes when he shouldn't be.
Yeah, stupid idiot. Beyond his capability.
Yeah.
So they actually had two of the most experienced trauma doctors in Tasmania were there as volunteers, and so they managed all of the administering of drugs and getting me packaged up and basically on the stretcher and in the hospital and intubated and punctured my lungs medically to relieve any trauma pressure on the heart, thoracotomies. So
that all happened in the ER when you
in the dirt.
In the
that
dirt.
all happened in the dirt.
Wow! But did you have an pneumothorax? Did they sort of identify that, or was that just
It's a precautionary measure because of suspected traumatic arrest. They didn't know that I didn't hit a tree at 40 k's an hour. No one saw what happened. So they had to assume the highest level of trauma, apparently. That's what I've been told.
Okay, so you've got puncture wounds here from the thoracotomy, from the intercostal catheter that they both sides. They did both sides.
Dual. Yep. And then I've got extra ones for the drains that went in as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Look like I've been
so did you have any other injuries? Like, because obviously you have a thing and then you just fall off your bike and you're going downhill. Surely you must have hit something. Like, did you have any broken bones or anything?
No busted bones. I've managed to come out with a torn meniscus in my right knee, which sucks. I don't know if it's related or not. It is related, but we can talk about sort of why some of that stuff is happening. You can see I spent a fair bit of time in hospital. I'm glad I got rid of that horrendous shave that they've done on my face there. They butchered my beard, but
so this is in Hobart Hospital. Is this?
That's in the Royal Hobart, yeah. Yep.
Royal Hobart. So you get choppered down there, and then into the ER, into the intensive care unit. What's the obvious life support and angiogram? Is that what happens next?
Yeah. So the trauma team at the bike park figured out that it was cardiac, and I know my wife's half listening in the other room, so she'll correct me if I screw this up, but I'm pretty sure they detected that I was in VF, ventricular fibrillation. So that was what alerted them to the fact that it's like, oh shit, this isn't trauma. This is he's had a cardiac arrest. So then they started treating me for that, got me on adrenaline, all sorts of funky stuff. Flew me to the Royal Hobart, where I was admitted, as you said, Dave, through the ED. And then they had to figure out what the hell was going on. And it was even queried on my medical charts that suspected impact with a tree at 40 k's an hour. So they're looking for spinal, trying to rule out spinal injuries. I'm unconscious. Amy's uncontact. Well, she's 3 hours away. No idea what's going on. None of my mates are there. They're just having to fly blind, literally. But also I was not in a very good way. I was critical and unstable, so they couldn't stuff around with lots of imaging. They did some basic scans and went, can't find anything obvious. Got the cardiac team involved, and yes, angiogram, found the blockage in my LAD, and basically I had a massive arrest, and fair bit of damage to the heart muscle. So stuck a balloon in for any non-medical people. They go up through the main artery in your groin, and stick a cable up in there and shove a balloon in your heart that they blow up to take the pressure off the heart muscle while you're recuperating. While they were doing that, unbeknownst to the medical team, they ruptured that artery in my groin, and I started bleeding to death internally. They didn't realise that at the time, and so this is some of the complications that sort of made this a non-simple thing. Because for most people, even for a 50-something bloke, you have a heart attack or an arrest, they get you to hospital quick enough after a defib, shove a stent in your artery, and you're out of hospital in a week. You're good as gold. Obviously, there's recovery time and everything, medications, but generally not in a coma. A lot of the procedures are done bedside, but this rupture of my artery, my groin, my iliac artery in the right side, meant that I was bleeding into my abdominal cavity. So Dave will probably know about compartment syndrome, and that was picked up by some of the other trauma doctors, just by the by, and I was crashing pretty hard as well, still very unstable and critical. And so they thought I was bleeding internally, so they whipped me off to theatre. I had another arrest on the way to theatre, and they had to get me going again. And they cut me open from belt line to the bottom of the sternum, so they could literally have a physical look around and figure out where the hell he's bleeding to death from, only to discover that it wasn't coming from any of my internal organs. And so they did a sort of inspection of their previous works and figured out, whoops, we've ruptured his main artery in his groin. Wow. So they had to stent that as well. Get me going again. I had 16 units of blood.
So were you, in all of this process, were you actually, conscious in any of this time?
They had me in a drug-induced coma from when I arrived in the hospital, basically. So
you remember nothing from the bike to waking up 4 weeks later is what we're... No.
So there's nothing between I'm going to put down a good time on this run to my wife sitting... Well, actually, the first memory I have is being extubated, which is horrendous. She was on life support. You got all the tubes down in your lungs and all that stuff. And so you have to be semi-conscious for when they pull the tubes out. And that was a bloody awful experience. But, that's pretty much my first memories is 10 days later when they brought me out of a drug-induced coma and extubated me.
Did you ask what your time was?
Did I win? So it was pretty funny.
They saved your life, but yet at the same time there's these iatrogenic, or they also created some pretty major complications in the process,
and they're all risks of surgery.
Pretty hair raising. Just to explain to some of our listeners, like you mentioned the LAD. So this here is the left anterior descending branch of the coronary arteries, and a lot of people will be going, he's so healthy and fit. What the heck's going on? Why did someone who's so healthy and fit have a heart attack while doing healthy activity? So this is one of the peculiar things about the left anterior descending artery is it's got this big right angle bend on it. And they call it the widowmaker, right?
For a reason, because it's the one that normally locks.
Yeah, it's called the widowmaker. So you can be pretty healthy. And if you've got a really tight angle here on the LAD, it's just a site for turbulent blood flow. And over years, that turbulent blood flow can lead to a little bit of accelerated atherosclerosis on the blood vessel, and then you get a bit of a plaque build up, and then boom, it's lights out, because it supplies a big part of the ventricles, the big heart muscle pump, what we call the ventricles, that pumps blood out of the aorta into the brain. So when that stops pumping, no blood flow to the brain. It's a very quick blackout.
It's a fast and painless death, Dave. I can attest to that.
Yeah. And then one of the tests that Wazza was describing was the angiogram, shoving a long catheter from the groin up to the artery to try to dilate up the artery, and then ruptured the vessel in so doing, which then led to, you then had a laparotomy. Is that right? Is that you after your laparotomy?
That's the big zipper up the front, mate. So I had an emergency laparotomy. They didn't even do it straight. I'm disappointed. It's got a big bend in the top of it.
Yeah.
It's a bit more time. I think they were a bit stressed about figuring out where the heck I was losing my blood. But
day 20, day 20. That's actually, you're looking pretty amazing for those ordeals, for that trauma and stress, and even was your brain would have been were you a bit scrambled, like because you had those. Yeah,
I also had four strokes in the bargain, so I've collected the whole set, and I got sepsis.
You had 4 strokes as well,
and pneumonia. Oh, and I went into kidney failure, so I was on dialysis for a short period of time in my hospital stay.
Wow.
So yeah, I woke up out of a coma with left side deficit, face drop, couldn't talk properly, all that sort of stuff. And as you can see now, I took a leg off an iron table. But and today's day 108.
Yep.
So it was pretty big. I was discharged on day 19. So that photo, day 20, there is literally the day after I got home. It was in the
Is this you going home? On the left-hand side.
Left-hand side there in the wheelchair. They stuck me in a chair because I couldn't walk. I left the hospital with ICU acquired weakness. Mm-hmm. So I went from 74 kilos fighting fit, racing mountain bikes and deadlifting 165 kilos. And the day I left, I was about 64.8 kilos. So I lost just around 9 kilos of lean muscle mass, essentially. So I couldn't stand up.
Your body weight, just hip extension, just standing up, really, like, oh my God, that's like.
And that photo I is, I think.
How was your mentality when you when you got out of hospital? Were you determined to kind of do things differently? Like what happened then?
Well, I wasn't giving up mountain biking, that's for sure.
Was your wife happy about that? I don't think she's going to give you a present like that again, is she?
I'm blessed enough to have met my soulmate and a rare bird in my wife, Amy. She is incredibly supportive of pretty much everything that I want to do, as long as we talk about it and make mutual decisions. But she's a very smart woman, and she understands how important meaningful occupations are, and not forcing people to do stuff or stop doing stuff that is part of their passion and purpose in life. So mountain bikes are still on the cards. It might be an e-bike now, but we'll see.
Haven't been back on it yet.
I have actually, around the yard. I've been pulling wheelies and track standing and stuff. Our 18-month-old son toddles around on his little 3-wheeled trike with me. He loves bikes and cars and boats and stuff already. So I've got myself a riding buddy. But Anthony, you asked about headspace, mate. I think the best way I can answer that question is from the day I became aware, which was not when they brought me out of the coma, because I had some pretty hardcore hallucinations and stuff. I was on some pretty funky meds, as you could imagine, that's going to keep someone knocked out for 10 days. So some midazolam and some other funky stuff that I can't even remember. So I was hallucinating pretty wildly for a few days. But once I was lucid, I couldn't move. I couldn't touch my nose with my left finger because of the stroke and my weakness. I was bedpanning for everything. You know, I wasn't allowed out of bed for the first. Don't think I got out of bed until like would have been maybe 5 days out of the coma, and that was to assist, as you can see there. You know, I had to have 2 people holding me because I couldn't walk more than 5.
These are your first steps, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's physio.
Still got the nasogastric tube in.
Yeah, they're horrendous bloody things.
Yeah.
But I started doing exercises in my bed from, 4 days out of a coma. I was lifting my heels, straight leg lifts, basically. And, you know, I'm talking maybe 5 or 10 mil off the bed, just unweighting my feet. And I'd do 10 reps, 3 sets. And then I'd have
Were you thinking at that time, I gotta start my training. I gotta start doing my functional training to get
the
back.
only way to get my functional capacity back was to actually use it and expand it. It just seemed so natural to me. You know, with my stroke deficit, I figure the best way to overcome this is to force my body to do things that it believes it can't do. So I was practicing getting my finger to my nose, failing miserably every time, and I couldn't even get my arm off the bed sometimes. You know,
so you were effectively like doing little WODs in bed as you're recovering.
I had rep schemes and everything, Dave. I was programming WODs. You know, I do leg lifts and then I do arm raises and
AMRAPs. Did you have a whiteboard and like the ICU doctors would come around? What's this AMRAP written on the whiteboard here? Bloody hell! Is that what do you think? Can you remember this photo being taken of you just looking up in the sunlight there?
I can. So that's sitting outside the cafe downstairs at the Royal Hobart Hospital. Quite a nice cafe actually. Because I wasn't allowed outside. I wasn't allowed off the cardiac ward for obvious reasons. I'm on full telemetry and everything. And so I wanted to get out and get some sun on my body. I needed to get sun on my skin. I'd been in hospital at that stage for 2 weeks or more. And I wanted some real food and I wanted a cup of damn coffee. I wasn't allowed to have any of those things. So my wife, being the can-do coconut that she is, she's an occupational therapist and knows how to advocate for patients. She organised a wheelchair and got me downstairs, and I had a decaf and some poached eggs. And I sat in the sun in Hobart. Fortunately, it was a sunny day. And I remember sitting there and just feeling life entering my body. I felt energized sitting there eating food and sitting in the sunlight.
Just the sunlight hitting you. Oh wow!
Just those simple
I mean,
things.
you just look like your facial expression there is like, oh my god, I'm alive. I feel alive again.
Absolutely. That was exactly what was coursing through me, Dave. Was you know, this is life. I'm here.
Yeah, it's just so surreal that you like. There must have been some deeper sort of thoughts, like, or do you not? Do you just take it minute by minute, or do you think at a much deeper level after going through something like that? Was it like I'm just trying to sort of break it down. We can't imagine it not having been through it.
I think life, even now, and part of me counting the days is. It's interesting, you know, most people count down the days to something awesome, whereas I'm counting up the days from something potentially, you know, fairly catastrophic, certainly for my family. My wife was almost a widow and my son almost grew up without a father. And so the reason I do that is it's my way of not slipping back into a mindless life, of a life of just going through the motions. And, you know, lots of us go through some bloody awesome motions, you know, we CrossFit and we stick to disciplined nutrition plans, and we do cold plunging, or we read educational books, and we take time out with our families. But now that I can compare two lives, I can compare this life to the one that I lived for 51 years and this one for 108 days. This one, everything has a purpose. And even the days, like today was a pretty shit day for me. Still trained in the gym, but I just felt flat, and I wasn't a good version of myself with my wife and son this morning. And so it was a bit of a tough day for me. Emotionally, but even in all of that, there's a purpose to everything that's happened today. And speaking here to you two blokes, and the 3 friends that you've got here by the looks of it, commenting on the side, there's a purpose to this conversation, and it's bigger than me. And I think that's probably the biggest thing, Dave, is that my life now is bigger than me. It's not about my bank balance or my deadlift 1RM or the car I drive or the job I have or the holidays that I take. It's much, much bigger than that.
And the simple things become so much more important, like just that time with people. Whereas previously you can often, and we probably do, we take it for granted, every meal that you have with your family at the dinner table, or every sort of drive, or little things, like you think, is that the last time we're going to do that? The last time you read a bedtime story to your children, like there was the last bedtime story that I read to my kids, and I didn't know it at the time. I should treasure all of those things.
Absolutely right, Dave. The day I left to go to the mountain bike race, and I drove out of the driveway here, I was stressed because I was running late because I had a meeting go over time on Zoom, and my wife was busy with our boy, I think it was, and I kind of said, "I'll see you later. I'll chat to you soon," and didn't give her a hug or a kiss. Didn't give my son a hug. Drove out the driveway, believing that I would see them again. Right? Didn't think about it consciously, but we tell ourselves that we know what the future looks like, and so we get sloppy with our actions because I figure, well, I'm going to be home in a few days, whatever. They're busy. I'll see them in a couple of days, and I nearly bloody didn't. In fact, I didn't. I was gone for nearly 3 weeks. And so it's so easy to miss things that matter, and get distracted by things that don't matter.
Absolutely. So what kinds of things have you kind of implemented since then in this new life? Because you call it your rebirth, don't you? Or you kind of describe it like that.
That's pretty common amongst. Apparently, I'm now part of this worldwide group. Humans have all these groups. There's CrossFitters, and there's carnivores, and there's vegans, and there's surgeons, and there's business coaches. Like we fit into all these groups depending on what we've experienced in life. Now I'm part of this group of SCA, sudden cardiac arrest survivors.
Okay.
So there's some groups online that you can jump in and share your experiences and stuff. So I guess some of the things that are common to those of us who have had an experience like this, and it's not only cardiac arrest. I've just finished reading a great book by a woman who had cancer, and she died in hospital, went into organ failure, had a near-death experience, came back to life miraculously, and was, a cancer. She went into full remission within about 6 weeks from lymphoma, much to the astonishment of her treating team. But I think the common thread is making our life about more than just. It's really hard to put into words. More than just the stuff, and I don't mean fancy cars and all that, but that's all part of the stuff. The stuff is our jobs and our mortgages and our kids' school commitments and the Christmas catch up with family and we get so focused in on organizing things out of, I don't know, habit or past programming that we don't actually take the time to words I'm looking for. This is late in the day for me, fellas, and I've had a big day in front of the computer. So I apologise for struggling with my the normal.
Just the material things, the material and
the physical world.
The rat race things, the rat race.
Yeah, the physical world. Like whatever your beliefs are, if you're an atheist, an agnostic, or whatever denomination, doesn't matter. We live in the material world, but there is way more to our life as human beings than the things we do, the things and stuff. The alarm goes off, and I've got to be here at time. I'm meeting at this time. I guess to sound like a bit of a jaded arrest survivor, that stuff is just such a crock of shit. Yeah. Once you've actually been faced with the end.
Yes. Yeah.
At 51, that was almost my story finished.
Yep.
And to sit with that has been psychologically incredibly challenging, which is another common thread for people. But it's also been an amazing blessing. It's been such an incredible blessing. One of the things that came to me as a message or a feeling or an insight, whatever you want to call it, not long after waking up from my coma, was that I had to get out of my business. Okay. I had to stop doing the business that I've talked to you about. That had to go.
The tradies business.
Yep. Business coaching, the whole lot.
Right. Okay.
Stop. No more.
Okay.
And so I've literally just reached agreement with my business partner to exit my business of 17 years. I've been doing that.
Wow.
Clients all around the country. Some are great friends. And I had no logic. I didn't do any spreadsheets. I lay in my hospital bed and I went, I got to get out of this. This has got to go. It was literally a gut feeling, insight thing. And my wife has been 100% behind me, despite the fact that it means I'm walking away from quite a comfortable income, long running business, and all the trappings that go with that. But that business was also a big part of what killed me.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully you'll replace that with something that's enriching.
Well, I already have. I'm talking.
He's going to be a professional bike. He's going to be a professional bike rider.
Professional mountain biker. I think I might have to get a bit more ejection fraction back before I can do that. But no, having conversations like this is way more fulfilling and meaningful than most of what I've done.
It's all about the relationships, because they're not replaceable, are they? A car is replaceable. A house, material possessions, and relationships with another human being, whether it's your wife or your friend or hanging out with our community at the gym at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and just talking smack after the workout. Those are the things that are irreplaceable. And really there's no monetary value on that. And really they are the most valuable things that we can have in our life, really.
I've definitely changed on money and success and ironically, more financial abundance has come to me and my family in the last almost 4 months than has done for a while, because I've actually pretty much let go of all of those ideas and just went, you know what, it's the laser focus on results. And I find this an interesting paradox with, talking about CrossFit. I'm sitting here in my open shirt and to be fair, CrossFit or the functional fitness that I've done for close to 10 years prior to my arrest was instrumental in my rapid recovery. The doctors can't believe it. They can't believe the stuff that I'm doing now. I'm in my home gym here, which sounds like puny numbers to a lot of people, but 30 kilo Romanian deadlifts, I can do 60 push-ups,
Yeah.
I'm back on the bench doing 20 kilo strict press, which for me is a hell of a lot because my shoulders are shot. But I'm doing stuff that even an average person would be stoked with. I've put on 4 kilos in. I was chatting to you guys before we jumped on here. I've put on 4 kilos of muscle in 10 weeks. They told me I would not put that weight on. It'd take me more than 12 months, and I probably wouldn't put much of it back on because I'm too old and it just doesn't happen. Well, that's bullshit. And so focus on numbers and results and doing workouts and 1RMs and all that stuff, which was all part of my life as a CrossFitter and a coach, and even in my home gym. While that's been a big part of what's probably saved my life and made my recovery rapid, that way of living our lives in a broader sense, I've really felt disconnected from.
There's so much that you gain from it, from those really high quality engagements and relationships. But the doctors must be amazed. Like they wouldn't have even expected you've left hospital yet or rehab unit or something like that.
No, I have boggled a few brains, Dave.
Yeah.
And they're not used to seeing fit people like us go into hospital with heart attacks either. It's not a normal thing for our population, although it still happens more than I realised. There's more guys like me, peak fitness, 50 years old, that are having massive heart attacks, and it's not cholesterol and it's not any of the other things that we've been told about for the last 30 or 40 years. It's stress, and it's being disconnected from relationship, like you're talking about, Dave, and meaning and some of that stuff that sadly I think is missing from a lot of people's lives in an age where it's easier to access connection. I mean, look at us here. You guys are somewhere up in the north of the Big Island. I'm down here in the bottom of the world in Tasmania, and I'm sharing very, very personal stuff with you, and then you've got these other people on the side here who are listening in. It's easier now to be connected with people, and yet I don't think we use the technology to achieve that. It's being used for too many other things.
And that's one of the on our mission statement. That's what we want. That's why Anthony and I set this up, and hopefully be able to reach more people and create some nice enriching relationships and discussions with people like you're talking to us tonight. Is just, it's going to be like, there's going to be more people watch this video other than tonight. It's going to be out there forever, and there's going to be people that will, I'm sure, benefit and be inspired from it, and change their life for the better for it. Like even myself, just listening to you talking, it makes me sort of think about how I live my days, and the stresses. Is it worth it? Do we need it? How do we work out and navigate around that?
That's right. So it's hard to let go of the. I think conditioning is a big part of it, and I got a few mates who I've known for many years, and I've always thought of them as friends, but they really surfaced in the midst of my trauma and my family's trauma, and a couple of them jumped on planes and flew down here to Tasmania and just without a question, and came and supported my wife and drove her to and from the hospital. And there's another guy down in Tassie here that I've ridden bikes with, who was there on the day, who's done the same thing, and they've been really interested in my journey, and it's been quite significant for them as well. But one of them has said to me, he's taking another lease. He's got a very successful business. He's doubling his team, and he's doing all this stuff because then he can retire in 3 to 5 years. And he's only my age, so he retired pretty young. And I feel a bit like a reformed smoker, going around telling people, do you realise how bad these things are for you? You should really stop that. Or maybe a CrossFitter, because we go around telling everybody how good CrossFit is. But I asked him the question. I said, mate, why don't you retire now? you own your multi-million-dollar house. You've got a nice car. You got a great, healthy family. You've just spent 2 years tripping around Australia. Why don't you retire now? Nah, just a couple more years, and I'll have this sorted, and then we'll have this investment in place, and it'll be all be good. And I said, mate, I used to think exactly the same way. What happened to me? And I feel like I'm lecturing
you
people.
can get a downturn in the economy, and then all of a sudden you think you've got to work another 2 or 3 years.
COVID,
There's always
look
going to
what
be a
COVID did
reason.
to many businesses. You know?
Yeah. Well, Jeff Bezos probably doesn't feel as though he's got enough money.
And that was the question.
There's no amount that satisfies you. It's like,
how much is enough?
Unless you disconnect and you sort of stop buying into this sort of modern lifestyle that we kind of all have bought into, which sometimes annoys me a bit. I sometimes get annoyed that I have to use Google and
give more money to
because I don't want to use it, but like we've bought into it. If we choose to live in this society and this sort of modern era, unless we unplug, and even that's getting harder and harder, right? Even that's
yeah. I went through a bit of that, Dave. I think Anthony asked about mindset through all of this. I probably swung into the whole that's it. I want to go live in a cabin in the woods somewhere and just completely disappear off the map. And then, I got over myself and thought a little more balanced about it all. And my own opinion, and it doesn't have to be anybody else's, is more around finding harmony, but doing it mindfully and consciously, and not just getting, as you sort of talked about, Dave, just getting wrapped up in stuff and caught up in things. And I see people that I've known for years, see their social media feeds, and I think, wow, you've got money, you got a house, everything else, and they're still pushing and driving and buying, and it's like, what for? I didn't wake up in hospital and go, oh, damn it, I never got the brand new Land Cruiser. The thing I wanted to do was hold my son.
Where's Amy and Jack? And that's what I know. Yeah, so cool.
What things have you kind of put into your life so far? Like, what things are you now practicing to kind of focus on the intention of the relationships and things like that?
Time is probably the easiest way to answer that one. Just taking time, even like now, it's after 9 o'clock for me down here. It's past my bedtime, and I'm really relishing the opportunity to invest some time with you guys on the podcast. As you said, Dave, perhaps someone else will listen to this. So it's for me, it's taking time to have a conversation with someone. A guy came and delivered water to our place here because summertime's our dry season down here in Tassie, and we're on tank water out here in the bush. So the guy turned up driving a tanker, and I think I had about a 20-minute conversation with him standing out the front of the house. Now, he's been here many times before, and normally I just blow him off because I'm too busy. I've got to get back on the computer. I've got emails to read. I've got a Zoom meeting I've got to do at 3 o'clock, whatever. And partly because I'm on leave at the moment, I'm taking time out to recover. But also it's just a choice, is to take the time with my son, instead of what I used to do was get stressed about the fact that I haven't mowed the grass yet, and the car's got to be washed, and then I've got to come in and file some documents and do that sort of stuff. And so my son, even in his first 14 months of life, had started to become a bit of an annoyance, because he wants his dad, and I've got to get this stuff done, and just give me a minute, mate, it's ridiculous. But I did that.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, oh, my son wants me, and 90% of the time I'm not perfect. 10% of the time I still drop the ball a bit on that, like today. But 90% of the time it's like, you know what, I'm going to be here for my boy. Yeah. And I've actually seen my relationship with him bloom. It's amazing.
That's so cool.
The connection with him is incredible, and because of that, the connection with my wife has also flourished, despite all the traumatic events and the stress and the fear and everything else we've had to work through. And it just comes down to actually taking the time.
Yeah.
Just being present in that moment
Yeah,
that people talk
yeah.
about.
So everything I do now in terms of my daily practices, I still train in the gym. I've got dumbbells and one of those awful rowing machines, and I refuse to get an assault bike. Grew up on a shell for time. I'll never get on another assault bike ever again.
Dave can
but,
send you one. How's that?
He's got one.
Yeah. Maybe we can get you one, mate. We get if you ever come to Brisbane, we'll stick one in the back of your Land Cruiser.
That's okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
It might accidentally fall out on the drive back.
Amy, I can hear Amy in the background saying she wants one.
She wants an assault bike, but that's because she's 6'1". She's built for an assault bike.
Oh yeah, the machine girl.
I know.
Let's
So
make her do wall walks.
Yeah, I train in the gym. I lift weights, and getting back into my functional fitness a few times a week. I go for a walk. It's a 3.5, 4K walk almost every single day with my wife and my son. It takes us about 40 minutes, and it's become a part of our life. We feel weird if we don't go for our morning walk together. I never had time for that stuff before. I meditate. I do yoga. I've dabbled with some alternative healing modalities as part of my recovery, because basically, my heart has been quite severely damaged from the arrest, and I'm out to continue to confound my medical team with my recovery. And beyond all of that, I just want my function back. Now, I don't care if patting snails in the paddock 3 times a day is going to get me back my function. I'll go pat snails. I don't really care what it is or how it works or why. Couldn't give a shit. I want my capacity back. And I want it in areas that I didn't have it before. And that's, I think, mainstream medicine just really can't wrap its head around the fact that I can do more than most 50-year-olds who haven't had a cardiac arrest. And I'm only, 12, 13 weeks into my rehab. And they just can't wrap their head around, my numbers aren't great, but my functional capacity is amazing. And so they go, but your numbers are shit. You need a implantable defib. I'm like, what the hell for? I'm running up hills and I'm lifting weights in the gym and riding my mountain bike around my yard. Yeah, but your numbers are no good. And this sort of leads me all the way back to the fixation on numbers and stuff,
Yeah. That's why we say that that's one of my things is functional capacity is the ultimate metric of health, right?
100%.
So,
but you can't write a script for that, Dave.
Yeah, exactly. Did they give you a lot of meat in hospital, or were they feeding you the old cornflakes and?
Oh my goodness! We
wheat
started
mix?
on hospital food, mate. I think the
which is crazy, isn't it?
cardiology.
Which is when you need the most nutrient-dense food, when you're in hospital and they give you wheat mix instead of bacon and eggs.
Well, wheat mix would have been nice compared to the stuff that was actually on offer.
Rice bubbles. They've gone down to rice bubbles.
Rice bubbles. Yep.
Oh no!
I am again. I'm blessed to be married to the woman of my dreams. She would pre-cook and package up food at home. We're a 3+ hour drive from the hospital I was in, from our home, and she would bring down cool carries packed with food and yogurt and protein powder and stuff for me, so that I could eat real food in the hospital. And look, there's some amazing medical professionals in our system. If it wasn't for Australia's medical system, I'd be dead. If it wasn't for our tax system, I'd be dead. There's no way I could afford to pay for the chopper ride and the medical team and the surgeries and everything that I had. No way, no. And so I don't want to sort of ever come across as slagging doctors and everything. And except for Dave, he's a Spanish cat. But
he needs a bit of slagging, so. The medical system is exceptional at dealing with emergencies and those incidents that occur, but like for long-term health, they've really kind of dropped the ball.
Or even rehab.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Anthony. You know, wellness and long-term health and avoiding chronic illness, it's shocking at all of that. But there's this gap between the critical care, which is incredible, world class,
Yep.
and getting you home in a state that means you can return to activities of daily living and all sorts of other cool stuff. The rehab bit is, I think, still questionable here in Australia. And I had a particular doctor tell me point blank that eating good food and getting sunshine would not play any part in improving my health status.
Wow.
So that photo you saw of me in the sunshine, basking in the sunshine,
Yep.
was me getting some vitamin D back in my body because I've been, you know, inside in artificial light for 2 weeks. Hadn't seen the outdoors. Didn't even have a bloody window in my room. And so my hemoglobin, I kept having blood transfusions at that stage because my hemoglobin wasn't coming up. So they just give me another bag of blood to fix it. I said, like, can you get me some red meat and some sunshine? You know, I'll get this hemoglobin up. And they said, that's not going to do anything. Nutrition won't fix it. So a mate of mine smuggled some steaks in a couple of nights in a row. I got some sunshine and some poached eggs. And holy moly, my hemoglobin went up and they stopped giving me transfusions. It's a miracle.
Must have been the transfusion they gave you beforehand, though. That's what.
It's so frustrating. It is frustrating, you know, working in the industry that the highest level of training, it almost puts the blinkers onto the simple things. It can't be that simple. It can't be just eating good food and having good sleep and having good movement and exercise. It surely can't be that, because I've done, you know, I've been to university and I'm a professor, and it's got to be something more complicated than that. I need to validate myself with research papers and this and that. It couldn't be just eating some good old, you know, slabs of ribeye.
Steak and a sunny day and I'll be good. Part of my therapy at home here has literally been lying on a sun lounge. Fortunately, you know, it's Tassie summer, so it's beautiful to go and lie outside for 20 minutes front, 20 minutes back, get my vitamin D levels, and my bloods post-arrest are all fantastic. You know, my vitamin D levels are through the roof. My magnesium's great. You know, all of that stuff is part of giving the body the best chance to heal itself, which is what it's designed to do. You know, we go lift weights and we tear our muscles. Hypertrophy is just our body's response to a stressor, and it's bloody good at fixing itself and, you know, making us buffed in the process.
Adapting to those strains. Are you on any medications now? Or did they have to keep your blood thin, or
so twist in the tail of the story, you know about this, Dave, and in fact I'm going to give a public shout out to Dave for being, I don't want to say smart enough, Dave, but having the presence of mind to just think beyond the complex and probably look at the simple first, mate. So something we didn't realise when I was discharged is that I had a massive DVT, or deep vein thrombosis, in my left leg. So I had this swelling, this leg that would swell up during the day and go down overnight, which is a common side effect of stroke, which I said before, I had a few strokes. And chatting to Dave online, and let's go with this, mate. What do you reckon? And he said, did they rule out a DVT? I was like, no. I've been lying on my back in ICU for 3 weeks. You know, you go on a plane and they tell us all about DVTs on an international flight for 20 hours, but I'm 3 weeks on my back. So, went and got a scan, and from groin to ankle, completely blocked. So readmitted to hospital 2 weeks after I got home the first time.
What did they when they got that ultrasound? I remember, I think I just sent it on Messenger. I sent you a request form for an ultrasound. I said, this should work. Just take it to your local radiology suite and get an ultrasound. It's like, there'll be no charge for it. It's just bulk billed ultrasound scan. And the lady on the the person doing the ultrasound scan must have gone, "Holy shit, what's going on here?" Did they just lose their mind when they saw it?
She sort of went very quiet, and
Yeah.
you know when
Yeah.
a radiographer's doing imaging, like humans can't hide their emotions, and so I knew something was up. And she just looked at us both. My wife was in the room with me at that stage, and she said, "You guys need to get to ED, like straight away. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Just go straight to ED.
Yes.
You have a DVT from your groin to your ankle. You really need to get into hospital." And I'll be honest, I broke down and cried in the ultrasound room.
Yeah.
Because I've been home for 2 weeks. You know, I've had this traumatic ordeal. I was focused on recovery and rehab and getting better. And here I am with something that could cause a massive stroke and wipe me out. So I spent another 5 days in hospital under observations while they gave me high-dose anticoagulants and monitored me and scanned my lungs. I've got some pulmonary embolisms as a side effect. So I'm basically just on long-term anticoagulant therapy and wait for the body to reabsorb the clots and hope they don't,
And sometimes they put a little filter in the inferior vena cava. Did they talk to you about that, or was that considered too dangerous with the previous?
Yeah, the benefits don't outweigh the risks in this case. I also have a clot mass sitting in the bottom of one of my chambers in my heart. So, these are the things that right now I go to the beach and I'm riding my bike around the yard and I go into town and I look like, a fit guy. I've got some good muscle tone back and I'm nimble and active and sharp. But I also have these things that aren't visible that sort of create a bit of uncertainty and psychological pressure.
Is the foot swelling settled down with the anticoagulation?
It's just I've got one leg with a good sized calf muscle, which is the swollen one, and the other leg is normal, which is the small.
The other one's normal. So okay.
Sitting leg day on one side.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sorry about finding that. I'm sorry about finding that ultrasound for you. I'm sorry about finding that DVT.
Well, no, it's better to be known about, mate. So I'm on anticoags and I'm on some heart failure medications, but because I had such low blood pressure going into this, because I was so fit, they can't give me much of the medication, and they don't need to, because that's what it's really all about, is keeping your heart rate low and your blood pressure low to take the pressure off the cardiac muscle so it doesn't sort of remodel and thicken up over time. So lots more scans and visits to cardiologists and arguments about statins and all sorts of cool stuff ahead of us.
Do they want? Are they recommending statins? Are they? They're recommending statins.
They put me on 3, I think. 2 was it? I've just been corrected, but I have politely declined those based on personal choice. So I'm not taking any cholesterol lowering medication, which made the conversation with the cardiology registrar interesting when I went and saw him last. Might be why he scared me about having an implantable defib by reading the wrong number on my scan. But anyway, we're holding steady. We're holding steady.
We'll arrange to have a subfraction analysis of your LDL, and then you can show him at your next visit. My LDL
is Dave.
Beautiful, healthy LDL.
You wouldn't know what it was.
So what's next, Waz? What are your plans and goals looking forward? Like, not the ones that you want to put numbers to, but the ones that
what's next for me is sticking to my new rules. Wrote down some values and some rules off the back of all of this, and putting my family first and learning to put myself first. I'm discovering self-love and what the hell that even means, because I come from a generation, particularly of men, that don't really have any idea what self-love looks like or how to do it. So I'm on a bit of a journey with that, continuing the rehab and getting more and more capacity. And then my wife's in a private practice in allied health as a sole practitioner. She got a wonderful opportunity down here in Tasmania. She's an incredible clinician and a fantastic supervisor and connector. Pardon me, she's got a lot of respect from some pretty big referral sources down here in Tassie. So I'm going to take my 25 years of business experience and team up with my wife and build an allied health practice here in the north of Tasmania.
Awesome.
There's a horrendous shortage of allied health services here, particularly within the NDIS space. So I'm going to lend a hand there and be a bit of a general dog's body and practice manager. I've been anointed as
your boss. So Amy will be your boss, right?
Oh, she's always been my boss.
Yeah.
And I haven't shared this publicly, so this is the first time I'll say this, which will create some level of accountability, I guess, is write a book. I know it's been done before, but my story is my story and it'll touch the right people in the right ways. So I want to write a book with a particular message off the back of my experience. I haven't quite got clarity on what that is yet, but conversations like this help me to actually conceptualize what's happened and what the meaning in it might be for others. And I'd love to get on stage and, go speak at a conference or something, share my story in a way that I'm a storyteller, and my coaching and mentoring over the years is always around telling stories and analogies and metaphors and all that sort of stuff. So I'd love to get on stage in front of some people who want or could benefit from some inspiration and insight, basically.
Yeah.
I have no idea who that is or where it is or what it looks like, Anthony, but that's the intention.
That sounds awesome. Mate. It sounds like you want to serve by the sound of things. It sounds
Absolutely.
like you want to.
That was one of the other things. Get out of my existing business, and I need to serve more people before I go.
That's pretty powerful, mate. Absolutely. So are you at the stage where you're able to, I guess, be grateful for the experience that you've had? Are you at that stage, or are you still trying to?
Yeah, I've just gotten there recently. Actually, it's a great distinction, and I'm pretty sure I've said this out loud to my wife. She'll be able to hear me say it now in the other room. I think my arrest and rebirth is the best thing that ever happened to our marriage. And I actually think it's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Right. Because it's precipitated or predicated, I think is the right word. Maybe that's a stroke or maybe that's my age, I'm not sure. It's predicated a bunch of changes that I might have dreamt of in my first life. But now it's stuff that I almost feel has to be done. Changes have to be made because I have this thing that's like, you can't possibly go through something like this and not do something with it. That would just be lunacy. So I think it's been a wonderful experience. I've met some incredible people. It's caused some friendships to blossom. It's brought my family closer together. It's scared a few people into making some changes they probably should have made years ago. Holy shit, I don't want that to happen to me. So I've got, mates getting coronary artery calcium scores and asking me what blood panels they should get done and stuff. So it's been horrendous and traumatic, and I'm still working with a great psychologist through some of the after effects that. Again, it's sort of that secret stuff that nobody sees. But it's been an amazing experience, mate.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's and the crazy thing is, was still there? If you can hear us, the your story's impacted on me. Just listening to you, obviously I've followed your story. We've spoken a number of times, but it's so different. It's so different hearing it directly from you. It's impacting me, and I just hope lots of other people can hear this. I just want other people to be able to listen to this podcast because it has such an effect hearing it directly from you. And hopefully we can have you back on. Hopefully we can have Wazza might be gone there. Hopefully we can have Wazza back on the show again, Anthony.
Yeah, that was a tremendous interview. What a guy. So
Yeah,
he's taken such an experience that could be really just terrifying, and he's transformed it in his life.
Yep.
So
Yep.
he's making us all think about other things, not worrying so much about all the minor details, right?
Yeah. All right. He's probably gone off to sleep. He was looking a little bit tired there. Is he coming back on there? Not sure. But anyway, we shall. I think that's probably a good time to end the show. That was a pretty long show. We were going for how long?
We were,
An hour.
it's an hour and a half, I think.
Over an hour.
I'm gonna
but-
have
Wow.
I'm gonna have a cranky teenager saying, "Where have you been? What are you doing? You said it was going to be an hour." So,
Yeah.
but that'll be soon. So we'll get there.
Yeah.
So, is he back? Did I hear him just come back?
He may
he's back.
be.
So
He's just.
fellas,
Hey,
Hello.
you just we were just saying there was a that how impactful that was to hear it from you directly, because I've been following it and reading the Wazza's fan page and just keeping abreast of your progress. But man, it's been impactful, and I just hope other people can listen to this. I want to share. I'll be sharing this video with my friends because I think I think you're right. You serving and talking to other people about your story is gonna change people's lives for the better.
I hope so, because it's
Yeah.
honestly, mate. If I was giving a Google review for this whole experience, it'd be 1 star.
Yeah.
Would not recommend.
Yeah.
I know I said it's
Well,
been
you
an amazing experience.
you want the outcome, right? You want the outcome that you're getting now, just not all the process of having to go through.
Sometimes that's the only way to get to that level of understanding, isn't it? Like you need
That's
to.
right. There's so many metaphors.
We can benefit from it. Anthony and I are benefiting from it without having to go through it. Like I just want my kids to listen to this podcast. I want Harry and Charlotte to listen to it. I want my friends. I want the gym, all the members in the gym to listen to it. Man, it's fantastic. So thank you so much, Wazza, for sharing your time with us. The feeling that we're important enough to spend an hour and a half of your precious time with us on a Wednesday night.
It's been
and
a
hopefully,
pleasure, Dave and Anthony, and I appreciate the invite too. It doesn't have to be 1,000 people. I think that's where I know I've got it a little bit wrong over the years. Is impacting. I know I said I want to serve, and I want to serve more people. If one person listens to this and makes some sort of a change, maybe that's you, Dave, or Anthony, or perhaps one of your subscribers or a family member. If just one person makes a change, it's been worth it. It's been worth 90 minutes of my time, right? Because it might save someone's life or their family or their stress levels. So it's absolutely worth it. So thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely,
mate. Let's get you back on in 2026 after you've signed up for the CrossFit Open again.
Be one of those Looney Tunes doing it from home.
We'll go through, yeah, because you'll have to do video uploads of all your home workouts. But that's the beauty of it. It's open to everyone and anyone.
That's right. I still got the shirt, mate. I'll have to get another one.
Yeah. Okay, my friend.
all right.
Stay well, and stay in touch, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Throw down again
Thanks,
soon.
Waz.
See you
later, mate. All right. I think we are going to call that a go. Dave?
Good night, everyone, and see you in 2 weeks. Wednesday,
See you
2
later,
weeks. We'll be
guys.
back here, 7 p.m., 2 weeks' time. Catch you later.